Welcome to Blossoms and Blooms Beyond the Bouquet, a session that will focus on farming and selling of flowers. Our first speaker will be Dave Pruitt, the administrator for the Certified Grown American Flowers organization.
To present at your conference. I'm here representing Certified American Grown Flowers. We take pride in our flowers, and we are advocating for our farmers and advancing America's cut flower and greens industry. Certified American Grown is a diverse and unified coalition of small to large domestic flower and greens farms across all 7 regions of the United States. Our and greens farming community. To present at your conference. I'm here representing Certified American Grown Flowers. We take pride in our flowers, and we are advocating for our farmers and advancing America's cut flower and greens industry. Certified American Grown is a diverse and unified coalition of small to large domestic flower and greens farms across all 7 regions of the United States. Our vision is to have a healthy, sustainable, and prosperous American-grown cut flower and greens farming community. And our mission is to ensure the survival and thriving future of American cut flower and greens farmers. We are managed by a board of directors, all American farmers, and a staff with experience in the floral industry for years. We work diligently through committees to get the important things done for our organization that support our industry. The district and the board of directors are seen here in the map. The United States is divided up into districts representing all 7 regions. And the number of board members from each region is based on floriculture production. Where California has 5 members on the board, the Southeast has 2 members on the board, and the remaining districts have 1 member each. One of our main focuses is government affairs. This sets us apart from many other industries because we focus on representing American farmers. Inclusion in CFAP and PPP relief programs was instrumental in the work that we have done in DC. Customs and border protection labeling laws of imported cut flowers and greens. We've worked hard to get that enforced because that law has been on the books for a number of years. The reestablishment of the NASS annual floriculture survey, which gives all of us our information of production, both domestic and import. We've improved communication between USAID and USDA, focusing on communicating programs that are set to increase imports from other countries. We sponsor the First Lady's Luncheon in DC every year, which gives us a complete focus and highlight on American grown flowers. And we sponsor the introduction of Bipartisan American Grown Act and the work that it does to keep flowers grown in America in the White House and in federal events. We've expanded the size and influence of the Cut Flower Caucus, which represents our interests in Congress. And just to quote one of our committee members, actually, Frank Arnowski is our committee chair for the Government Affairs Committee, says, "I'm always amazed at the positive response our farmers get. They love us, but they need to know about us first. And that's why being a member counts." And he's referring to our representatives in DC. Our promotion and marketing committee works tirelessly to promote our flowers through our labeling, as you can see to the left, our email marketing, our ambassador and influence programs, our field-based dinners, merchandise, website, our social media, use of our iconic logo, our American Grown Flower Month campaign, which takes place in July, among many other campaigns that we do during the course of the year. Our social media marketing shows that we've gained 1 million plus impressions this year. Our fans are over 29,000. And you see our Facebook and Instagram handles on the right. Field-based dinner, which is our most important event, has been award-winning and people love to come to it. Our premier event starts in April in the flower fields in Carlsbad, California. This year it sold out in 6 days. It's a record time, but we were unable to hold the event due to restrictions from COVID. And since launching the dinners, we have garnered unprecedented local and national media attention and provided a widely successful way to showcase the heritage of America's flower farming families. In 2017, the tour snagged Floral Management's 2017 Marketer of the Year award. Certification is a very important part of our organization. It guarantees that our customers know where their flowers are grown. Where Food Comes From is our third-party origin certifier. And earning certification as an American-grown flower and greens farm not only communicates the homegrown origin of a farm's flowers and foliage, it also helps customers to quickly make purchasing decisions based on their understanding of quality, sustainability, seasonality, freshness, and consistency. Member benefits in our organization are many, but just to name a few, we are the only organization whose focus and interest is on American grown flowers, greens, and the farmers that produce it. We protect our floriculture heritage. We work to establish a fair marketplace. We network with fellow farmers. Being a member gives you the opportunity to host a field-based dinner. This field-based dinner brings unprecedented focus on your farm. The iconic logo and national awareness campaigns benefit each individual member and American Grown Flowers as a whole. We have website profiles and social media spotlights. We have discounts with affiliate partners, to name a few. Farm membership dues levels are listed below, and you can acquire a membership application through me. With my information is available at the end of this presentation. We run from micro farms to large volume farms, and large volume farms work to help bring in enough funds to manage our organization and allows us to have smaller dues for the smaller farms. We have our 2020 supporters have worked hard to give us additional funds for starting up the year of 2021. Ball Horticulture, Be Fresh, Dry Nectar Farms, Continental Floral Greens, Alaska Farm Bureau, and Pyramid Flowers, just to name a few. Be part of the voice and join us in creating a healthy, sustainable, and prosperous American farming community. I can tell you as a long-term flower grower that this organization is critical for the success of our industry going into the future. Please take a moment to write down my contact information on the right and contact me anytime. That's my personal cell, so I'm always available to take calls. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Mike Williams from Eagle Song Family Peony Farm in Alaska.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Hello to everyone attending today's presentation, Blooms and Blossoms Beyond the Bouquet. My name is Mike Williams, and along with my wife Paula and our 4 adult children, own and operate Eagle Song Family Peony Farm. I'd like to welcome you today to snowy Alaska. While the majority of farms are rural by nature, we think Eagle Song takes that to a new level. I'm speaking to you from our farm located in the Alaska bush, some 40 miles from the nearest road at the base of Mount Susitna. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Eagle Song is one of the most remote farms in the United States. Our proximity to Mount Susitna gives us an ideal microclimate for growing peonies in Arctic conditions. I'd like to say that that's by design, but in reality, as you'll see a little bit later, that was purely by chance. Eagle Song averages over 14 feet of snow each winter, and believe it or not, that's a huge advantage. First of all, our snow usually comes in late October and stays until May, which is one of the reasons that we have such a late harvest season, which is usually July, August timeframe. More importantly, though, it provides insulation from the extreme Arctic cold. The coldest we've ever recorded here at Eagle Song in the 26 years we've been here has been 46 below zero Fahrenheit. If it weren't for all that snow cover, our roots would undoubtedly freeze and die. As you could imagine, keeping perennials alive in Alaska is pretty difficult. And fortunately, again, snow for us is the tool that we use to make that happen. Each spring, the snowpack melts. It recharges Trail Lake, which you see in front of you. Trail Lake is our source for irrigation in the dry summer months. We are accessible only by small wheel or float planes in the summer months. This means all our summertime operations involve small planes providing the logistics to move personnel, supplies, and even our harvest to markets. Some might find this complicating an already difficult business. My wife Paula and I have 25 years collectively served in the U.S. Army. I was a logistics and personnel planner, mostly in joint commands over my career, and Paula was an air traffic controller. This brings me to my first point I'd like to make today. Your military training and experience is extremely valuable no matter what you were trained to do. Ours turned what looked to be a handicap, operating such a remote farm, into an asset. We can harvest a peony flower, fly it to our pack house operations strategically located at Anchorage International Airport, and fly it to our customers anywhere in the U.S. and Canada in less than 48 hours. We can act as a fulfillment center for online sellers, accept an order as late as 10 a.m. and have it to a customer by noon the next day. Our training in logistics and air operations helped us become one of the most competitive growers anywhere. That, my friends, is due to our military training and experience. At a minimum, you as a veteran have loads of experience in dealing with bureaucracy. That is a serious plus, and I'll get into that in a little more detail a little later on. The next point I would like to address is it's my experience that a business must constantly evolve. This is especially true if things like climate change continue. After I retired from the Army in 1994, we moved lock, stock, and barrel to backcountry Alaska. In fact, it was our authorized retirement move. So we started Eagle Song Lodge, a traditional wilderness fishing lodge. Over the years, an invasive fish known as northern pike showed up, and it decimated our salmon populations. It's tough running a fishing lodge without fish. After 15 years, we were faced with the closure of our lodge and having to move away or reinvent ourselves. It was time to evolve. It had recently been discovered that peonies not only survive the harsh Alaska conditions, but actually can thrive, and at times when they are being harvested nowhere else in the world. And that's a major marketing point for Alaska peonies. So we studied those findings in the flower industry itself. We created a business plan, we presented it to USDA, got funding help from them, bought and walked in a bulldozer 47 miles across the frozen Alaska wilderness.
Okay, now I'm filming simply because we're 3 hours into this. And we're doing 3 3.5 miles an hour. We've covered 11 miles and we're bored to tears. See? Bored to tears.
The second half of the journey was a little more exciting. There were places where we had to plow out over 12 feet of snow to get through, and at one point we almost submerged the entire dozer, breaking through the ice on one of the streams. But nonetheless, we persisted. 2 days later, we had the dozer in the yard. We helicoptered in a tractor, flew in implements, and planted our first 5,000 peony roots we had shipped up from Vermont in the fall of 2010. Peony farming is a lot like owning a vineyard or an orchard. You plant, you wait, in our case 5 years, for those plants to produce. All through that time, we continued to study and evaluate our business. We will always be students of the business. While we waited... I'm sorry, folks. That rumble was 3 feet of snow deciding to slough off the roof of our kitchen while I was recording this. So as I was saying, while we waited for our plants to mature and produce, we evaluated infrastructure and markets. It led us to create our own pack house to process, market, sell, and ship our own peonies. I'd like to point out that over 95% of our peony harvest is shipped out of state. Small Alaska population and our limited access to local farmers markets means our customer base is much more distant than most. Few of our customers, chain or retail florists or wholesalers, realize that when they call our offices, they're dealing with someone in a log cabin utilizing satellite internet to orchestrate the entire operation of our business. With the advent of COVID, this isn't such an unusual thing anymore. The ability to communicate quickly is critical in the flower industry. We start our day tracking shipments from the previous day at about 5 a.m. Alaska time. If a shipment goes astray, we can determine that early in the day and ship out a replacement order that afternoon if necessary. We're constantly fine-tuning our operations and investigating better ways to accomplish the mission. By the way, our mission is quite simple. It's create a happy customer. Much like the brick-and-mortar retail world, the flower industry is undergoing a massive transformation due to e-commerce. As a flower grower, I must embrace that change. Changes in the industry mean opportunity, especially for those new to the business. Historically, the flower business was selling your harvest to a wholesaler who in turn supplies local florists and grocery outlets. Today, e-commerce has upended the wholesaler, and COVID-19 has hastened the demise of a large number of neighborhood florists. While we at Eagle Song didn't predict the virus having such an impact, we were already evolving as a fulfillment center and embracing farm-to-consumer models. As with most businesses, COVID-19 forced a rather sudden change in direction for us. Florists were considered non-essential. Weddings were postponed, and large gatherings were suspended. Even funerals, where flowers are a traditional part of the service, were turned off. The international flower industry was in a shambles almost overnight. At Eagle Song, we adopted a COVID-19 testing and quarantine protocol for our workers and visitors. We moved more of our operations onto the farm, which was far easier to control than it was in the city. We had tested a nationwide peony subscription program last season. It was promising, so we put our efforts fully behind that program. We took 3 and 6 week subscriptions from the general public and shipped boxes of 25 peonies to those customers each week. We got an unexpected COVID boost by customers embracing home delivery so quickly. While Eagle Song does a robust business selling peony stems and roots, we continue to look at ways to expand our product line. Our Alaska season is very short and intense, a limited window to generate revenue. At this time, we're working on a line of value-added peony products that include jellies and sauces.
So what you doing, Christina?
I am making peony jelly.
And these are from the Shawnee Chief peonies. So it's a beautiful red color. I don't know if it's hard to tell. It just looks like a jewel.
If I can't get my peony bouquets on their table, I want my jelly on their toast. Actually, I want both. The point here is to look at alternative markets and value-added possibilities to extend your season, revenue stream, and overall security of your farm. Next, we're here today because we have embraced the technology that allows us to hold this virtual conference. As a flower farmer, you need to do the same for your farm. Social media is a very significant tool in floriculture. While a consumer may not be interested in different photos of a head of lettuce, I assure you, that is not the case when it comes to flowers. We sell lots of flowers through social media. While we're on the subject of social media, it's a good way to explore and develop some level of agritourism. Every farmer attending this conference can be involved at some level in agritourism. Think about it. 95% of the general public knows nothing about what we do. Now, this is my lodge owner side speaking. People are curious and interested in what you do, and they will pay to experience it. The trick is to figure out how it fits into your business. Don't overlook the opportunity. Let me circle back to a comment I made earlier. You as a veteran have extensive experience in dealing with bureaucracy. I encourage you to seek out opportunities that exist in the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Your local Farm Service Agency, Natural Resource Conservation Service, and many other organizations can assist you in developing your farm. For Eagle Song, we were able to partner with NRCS to design and create a farm-wide drip irrigation system. We were able to secure low-interest funding to install a renewable energy system that now powers over 97% of our farming operations. There are so many opportunities, but you have to be able to navigate the bureaucracy. Those of you that already deal with USDA know exactly what I mean. Next, reduce your risk where you can. Over the past 10 years, Eagle Song has experienced drought, flood, numerous earthquakes, volcanic activity, wildfire, and one day a 46-inch snowstorm, hailstorm, spruce bark beetle infestation, and now COVID. At this point in time, there is very little crop insurance coverage opportunities for flower farmers, but there is some through the Non-Insured Crop Disaster Assistance Program, or NAP. You can learn more on NAP through your Farm Service Agency. Mitigate risk where you can. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and it will come. One last thing I'd like to encourage you to incorporate into your farm, and that is pass on your knowledge and experience to others. Be it fellow veterans, our youth, or general public. We no longer live in an agrarian society, and much of what we do is totally foreign to most people. In our case, we've been involved with the worldwide opportunities on organic farms, or WOLF, and we have hosted dozens of mostly college-age volunteers. It has been a win-win for all of us. We get farm help, mostly unskilled, and we in turn expose the next generation to agricultural and the social responsibility that comes along with it. As a flower farmer, we may not feed the body, but I believe that we nourish the soul. In the year of 2020, I think that's more poignant than ever. Well, that's about all of my time. While most of you won't dedicate your entire farm to growing flowers or navigate agriculture in the Arctic, I hope that you will look closer at some of the points that I've made here today. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or comments about this presentation, please don't hesitate to contact me at the email address below. I'll be happy to talk with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. It was a pleasure being with you today. So long from Alaska.
Our next speaker will be Lauren Spencer, who operates Browning's Flower Truck in Kentucky.
Hi, I'm Lauren Spencer. I am one half of what is Browning's Flower Truck. Drew couldn't be here because he is dove hunting and he's a little camera shy. So I'll do my best to serve you in this virtual breakout session. A little bit about us. We own a 100-acre farm in Kentucky, and it's full of rocks and clay and humidity and pest pressure and lots of hills. So it's really not ideal growing conditions. We are both brand new to farming, first generation. I just completed my degree as a teacher, and Drew has been a lifetime pilot, so this endeavor is very new for both of us. A little bit about my military background. I served 6 years in the Coast Guard, so 3 as a deckhand at a surf unit off the Oregon coast. So we did search and rescue and law enforcement. And then I went to A school and became a corpsman, where I served as a medic at an air station in Puerto Rico, which is where Drew and I met. And then I decided when I was getting out that I wanted to be a farmer, despite living in an apartment my entire life, and I dragged him here to learn how to do that. So here we are, this is our journey, and I will share with you everything that I've learned thus far in the year and 3 months that we have been in business. A little overview of Brownings. We have a vintage flower truck and a vintage flower cart, and we recently acquired those, so we have taken them out several times, and we offer a build your own bouquet bar type setup for people to choose by the stem, make their own bouquets. And we also do wedding work and event design. We lead a lot of workshops hosted by a local bed and breakfast and wedding venue in town. We have a floral studio on our farm. I converted our tack room into that. We have invited photographers out to the farm to use as a venue and a backdrop. Let's see. Last summer we did weekly subscriptions. For bouquets, we've done a little bit of delivery. We just recently acquired a small retail space where we could start selling our wreaths and our bouquets out of. So we're kind of dabbling in a lot of things and seeing what sticks. As far as, let's talk about opportunities and challenges in florals. So there are actually pretty expansive opportunities in florals, which I feel like are not necessarily offered in any other realm of farming or traditional farming facets. I mean, you can do all retail, you can do all wholesale, you can do just farmers markets, you can do just weddings, you can ship your flowers, you can do value-added products, you can offer subscriptions, you can offer seasonal offerings, and it's pretty expansive. However you want to market yourself, it should probably work for you. People need flowers for all of life's occasions, so there is a demand for it. It's definitely a good. I'm glad that I chose this endeavor. I originally went to school for organic vegetable production, but I learned quickly that you needed, a large amount of tillable land with decent quality soil, labor, maybe some mechanization, and that just wasn't feasible for us. And so it was actually just one lecture at University of Kentucky that I decided I was going to be a flower farmer. And I have never bought myself a bouquet of flowers. I don't even know the names of flowers. I don't have a romantic story about, grandma, cutting stuff in the garden. I grew up in an apartment, but that is just what seemed feasible for a single female trying to begin a business. And with flowers, you can cut and come again. You don't need nearly as much space. I mean, a quarter acre of flowers can sustain one person in a whole business all summer long. So it's pretty great. As far as challenges, there are quite a few of growth and learning opportunities in the industry. One thing is funding. Obviously, that's the biggest factor, right? The money factor. But specifically, when you are a fruit or vegetable farmer, there's a lot of crop diversification grants that are available to you. Sustainable growing practices. What else? Like the animal humane welfare grants. Natural grown. There's so much out there. But when you get into applying for those grants, you realize that fine print does not include cut flower production, which is a shame because over 80% of the industry is shipped in from overseas. There's less than 20% of American grown flowers, so we really need to bridge that gap as farmers, as industry professionals, to where that financing and those grants are then extended to people like us who are trying to push for slow flowers, American grown flowers, and more opportunities for farmers and veterans, male and female alike. Flower farming is definitely a realm that you can dive into pretty easily, I think, as a transition from military service to civilian career field. So my 2 cents on that. If you are in the flower industry in any capacity, I don't care if you're just doing wholesale, I don't care if you set up a little stand at the end of your road selling sunflower stems in a mason jar bouquet, you will inevitably be asked at some point to do weddings or wedding flowers. And you need to seriously ask yourself if that's something that's feasible for you, because it is very expensive to get into. With being only a year and 3 months in business, I'm not the one on this panel that you should probably be listening to about growing your flowers, because we're still very much learning that. I feel like we have more of an over-glorified garden, but I'm just rolling with it and faking it till I make it. But I'm doing the same thing with weddings. And I realized that I could sort of operate in a florist capacity while I learn the farming side. But I've made a lot of major financial mistakes, and I've essentially paid brides to do their flowers because of that. So with weddings, you really have to dial in the accounting part of your business. And I am one woman who wears many hats. I do my best, but I don't always do the best at it. And so one area that I really lack is keeping track of every financial, piece of the puzzle. I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs in the background. We are at home. So, in order to break into weddings, you need to remember that you're going to have to buy a lot of supplies. Are you going to find a way to wholesale your flowers? Are you going to source from other flower farmers? Because if you are a new grower, you're still not going to have enough, and you're probably not going to have the stems that your bride wants. They like pale colors, neutral palettes, high-end flowers, roses, lisianthus, hydrangea, just things that maybe aren't necessarily how you start up in cut flower production. And then there is the vessels. Are you going to buy 20 different centerpieces every time your bride wants something else? Are you going to rent them? How much are you going to rent them for? Nuances like that, you need to make sure that your contract is dialed in, because you're talking about thousands of dollars at this point. It's not $20 or $30 for a CSA bouquet anymore. You're working with a $5,000 budget for a bride, and you need to make sure that you're also paying yourself. What is the industry standard? What is the industry markups? How are you going to promote yourself? My biggest thing that I've learned is recipes. So if you are going to get into the wedding industry, you need to know how to craft recipes, how to place your orders for recipes, and stick to your recipes, because your recipe is your budget. Now, for someone like me who doesn't even know that many names of flowers, this has been a really big challenge. And I'm more of a visual person. I want buckets in front of me, and I want to be able to craft from that. But that's not how you make money, and that's not how you do weddings professionally. Another thing is, for us, like Drew and I sat down and we discussed it, and we realized that right now, being such a young business, maybe weddings are not the most feasible thing. I have a car, I do not have a van or a truck, I do not have a trailer, and so how can I feasibly transport these huge elaborate pieces, or 30 center pieces and 2 big urns? I can't do it. We have a great working relationship with a local bed and breakfast that is down the road. Fred, stop. We have a great working relationship with a local bed and breakfast that is down the road, and so we are going to continue to do their brides' weddings. Excuse me. Fred, stop! Really glad you guys can edit that stuff out. I'm sorry. So we have a great working relationship with our local bed and breakfast. It's only 15 minutes down the road in our little town. They work with us to host all of our workshops. They promote our stuff really well. So we will continue to do their brides. They push us, they provide the style of venue that sort of attracts the clientele that we would work with. We push ourselves as more of like a boutique floral experience because you're going to pay a little bit more for flowers that are grown here, and you're going to pay a little bit more for working with a one-woman show. I mean, it's okay to know and learn your worth. I have increased the prices of my flowers probably every time I did an event because I realized that's not enough. I source from other local flower farmers. Collaboration is key. Community over competition. There is more than enough to go around. Do not be afraid to reach out and work with other local flower growers. We have some great working relationships with some seasoned veteran growers that have been doing this a lot longer. You know, I pro bono go do weddings for one of the growers, and she's gonna come and help me with a wedding. And you know, you need to create a team that surrounds yourself with, or to surround yourself with, in order to make it in the floral industry. We all have something to offer. We all have our own style, and so don't be afraid to be creative and collaborate with those that are around you. I absolutely love the aspect of design. I love the design work that comes with flowers and events and weddings. It's something I didn't realize that I missed in my life. So when I can just, late at night after I'm done working all day, I can go into the floral studio and I can crack open a beer and I can play my music and I can just work on my bridal bouquet. Like it is so enjoyable for me, and it's something I just didn't think that farming would ever provide. It's also something that I didn't realize as an adult that I needed. You know, we don't sit down and color and paint and play anymore, but our mind still craves, it still craves that creative aspect of life. And so if you can be imaginative and put colors together, and I don't know, it's a lot of fun. It really is. I enjoy it. There's a lot of opportunity for value added products. You can dry bouquets, you can do things seasonally. We actually, I think our Christmas wreath workshop is what put us on the map. We taught 125 people in 3 workshops that were sold out like that, how to make wreaths. And we use cedar, and it's growing grows along roadsides. I don't know where you guys are, but we have cedar everywhere on our farm, and those trees are they're a nuisance, and they grow up around our horseboard fencing. So every piece of those wreaths come from our farm, but people love that, and the greenery is so fresh and it smells so good. And you know, try to be creative and try to dabble in areas of how you can market yourself, and then see what people are receptive to. And don't be afraid to quickly change direction. Don't be afraid to say no if you're overbooking yourself. Don't be afraid to, you know, just recently I decided to do a fall wreath bouquet workshop. I had never done that before, but I took all these dried flowers that I'd saved as leftovers from weddings, bought grapevine wreaths, and then crafted this beautiful piece. And people loved it, and they pay for that experience. You know, team up with a venue and have them offer cocktails and appetizers, and you have this gorgeous event now, just like that. So, you know, really the field production aspect of it is probably going to be some other people on this panel because I'm still learning. But as far as, you know, marketing yourself, just jump in head first. Seriously, jump in and present yourself like you know what you're doing, and then figure it out. Figure it out later. Do not be afraid to just dive in. And the other huge piece of advice that I would say has contributed to our success, which I don't necessarily know is synonymous with what I just told you, but also don't be afraid of telling people who you really are. I have brides who have booked us just because they like our story, not necessarily because they love my flowers. You need to market who you are. You need to market the family that you represent. You need to market, your farm as a whole, not just your flowers. Because even though only 20% of American growers are growing flowers, flowers are a dime a dozen. Like, what is it about that bouquet that makes it special? How can your customer picture you and your family and your farm when they pick up your bouquet? Or in our case, like our vintage truck. I will provide you a small example. So I've built what I think is a pretty loyal following in our small town, and they love the experience of the flower truck. And there have recently been some competitors that have just come to the farmers markets, and there's even in our tiny little town now a new vintage mobile flower vehicle. So I was really concerned because we were set up at the same special edition farmers market, and my bouquets were twice as much as hers. My bouquets were $20 for a market bouquet, and hers were $10. We sold out. We sold out, and she sold 3 bouquets the entire day. Do not be afraid of making sure your customers know who you are, the mistakes that you're making, how you're learning. We post these confessionals on Instagram, Confessions of a First Year Flower Farmer, and I get hundreds and hundreds of people that watch them. It's amazing. People that have nothing to do with flowers or farming, they just enjoy it, and there's a dialogue then created where they message or they laugh, or, don't be afraid of laughing at yourself and like filming. Oh my gosh, I just ran over another hose with the mower and now Drew has to replace the belt. Like, people, they can then take a little part in your day on the farm, and they like that, and you build loyalty that way. And so make sure that you're putting out a quality product, make sure that you're being true to your aesthetic. It's okay to say no. Like, I had a bride who wanted a very specific style of bouquet, and it was not at all what I was comfortable making. And I told her, I said, I don't think that we're the florist for you. I'm sorry. And everything was fine. Determine what you want to do first and foremost, and how you want to put yourself out there. And also determine the boundaries that you and your family are willing to take part in, say yes to, say no to. It's important, because you will work yourself to death if you do not have boundaries, and if you don't have the ability to say no. I only have 15 to 20 minutes on here. I'm so happy to answer any questions. I am easily accessible at Browning's Flower Truck on Facebook and Instagram, or Browning's Flower Truck at Gmail. And I would love to talk to you more, because I don't really like slideshows. I prefer to have an open dialogue of discussion, Q&A. Let's just talk like we're friends over a cup of coffee. So please feel free, if I did not cover anything that you wanted to hear, if you think I might be able to answer it to you, then just shoot me a message, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Next up is Cal Zamora, who owns Zamora Flora Farm in California.
Hello, I'm Cal Zamora of Zamora Flora. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 2003 to 2008, deploying to Iraq in 2007 with the 1st Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion. In 2016, my wife and I attended the Beginning Farmers Training Program, a part of the California Farm Academy administered by the Center for Land-Based Learning. In 2017, we founded Zamora Flora, a small farm that produces cut flowers, peppers, dried beans, and popcorn. The barriers for veterans starting a small farm are the same as for any small farm starting out. Lack of access to land, lack of access to infrastructure like tractors and implements, coolers and greenhouses, that sort of thing, and lack of access to capital when you're first starting out. The opportunities available in cut flowers, there's a lot of small niche markets that a small farm could get into. They could be focused on weddings, selling flowers for people's weddings, selling to farmers markets, or selling to florists. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of room for specialization within that. Well, the selling with the Homegrown by Heroes label is a way of labeling your products as veteran grown, and just having that extra bit of recognition. And as far as access to capital, you can apply for the fellowship program through the Farmer Veteran Coalition. Well, I love working outside, first of all. I love doing mission-driven work that has a lot of problems to solve, something that changes day to day, which farming definitely does. I love working farmers markets and putting my product in the hands of people who will enjoy it, seeing people get happiness from something that I worked very hard to create and grow and nurture. It's a very peaceful kind of work, and it's something I love doing.
Our next speakers are Linda and AJ Fiddleman, who own Fields of Fidelis, which is in Texas.
Hi, I'm Linda Fidelman.
And I'm AJ Fidelman.
And we're the farmer veterans from Fields Fidelis, an organic lavender farm in Anna, Texas.
We specialize in the production of all natural lavender products.
I'm a former NCO in the Texas Army National Guard. I received my MBA from Dallas Baptist University, and I'm a project manager.
I'm a former combat medic and cavalry officer of the Texas National Guard. I received my MBA from the University of Texas, Dallas, and I currently work as a military systems production planner.
As an organic lavender farm, we at Fields Fidelis grow 4 different varieties of lavender to produce our all-natural products without the use of any harmful chemicals or preservatives, and without the use of herbicides or insecticides.
Using old world processing techniques, we appeal to a niche market looking for quality products from a rustic origin.
Some of the techniques that we use are hand sickles for the harvest,
or extracting the essential oils using traditional copper stills.
We want to share our farm and the lavender experience by reaching out to our community,
sponsoring charity events,
donating to not-for-profit organizations,
and supporting our fellow veterans. All farms have opportunities and barriers. For opportunities, lavender is not a common crop in the North Texas region, making competition rare.
Living on the farm allows for shared costs of our unique business and family environments.
And lavender has multiple market applications and sales opportunities.
Some barriers to entering into our field are North Texas summers are very dry and hot.
Real estate in our county is expensive to establish a farm.
And available resources for referencing how to grow lavender is almost non-existent in this area. We love our farm.
We love being the only local lavender farm.
We love meeting new people and especially lavender fans.
We love producing healthy organic products.
And supporting the community.
And partnering with local businesses and veteran organizations. As a flower farmer, it's important to know your market. Who are you selling to? Start with the customer and work backwards. How do they buy? Do they buy in bulk? Do they buy by the item? Or do they buy seasonally?
And where do they buy? Do they come to your farm? Do you sell at farmers markets? Or do you sell on the internet? Also, what kind of products are they buying? Are they looking for unique, handmade, authentic items?
Also, what experience are they looking for? Do they want a destination? Do they want to go and experience while you're on the farm? Do they want to learn how are these things made? Where do they come from? Or do they just want the magic of being in a flower farm?
Also, your story is very important as a veteran and how your farm ties into your military service.
The concept of value-added products is to sell something that's not your primary item. For example, if you produce soap, could it be a cleanser? If you produce perfumes, could it be an air freshener? If you produce bouquets, could you make wreaths?
Use your environment for inspiration. Forage your own farm. For example, perhaps you have wildflowers growing on your farm or even weeds that you could pick to put in your bouquets.
What can you repurpose? If you have a shop or a barn, could it be a venue? If you have a tractor and a trailer, could you give hay rides? Can you sell what you would otherwise throw away? If you produce byproducts, could you sell it to increase revenue and to reduce waste? Do you have shared costs? If your home is your farm, could you use it as a destination for photos and tours?
Use the current climate for inspiration. For example, this summer we created a mask spray to refresh your masks and also a nourishing hand sanitizer.
Our final speaker will be Russell Gazzetta, owner of Country Song Farm in Florida.
Hello, my name is Russell Gazzetta. My wife and I are the owners and operators of Country Song Farm here in Lithia, Florida. A little history of my Marine Corps background. I entered the Marine Corps in March of 1988 as an infantry assaultman, 0351. I was later assigned to the battleship USS Wisconsin as part of the Marine Corps Security Force Battalion. I took part in Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield and finished up my 4 years as an enlisted instructor for OCS at the Basic School, Quantico, Virginia. Overview of our business. The model of our farm is to plant, harvest, and sell cut flowers to generate income year-round on a monthly basis, while never compromising quality, freshness, and the longevity of the flower, and always exceeding our customers' expectations. We provide a selection of farm fresh bouquets and mostly specialty sunflowers and zinnias with some seasonal varieties. The farm also sells bulk flowers to restaurants, events, and weddings. We also allow photographers onto the property to hold their photo sessions. We currently use only 1/4 of an acre for our flowers. That's 16 to 32 50-foot rows. We both have full-time jobs, and we don't have employees besides ourselves. Farming for us is the opportunity to grow flowers year-round and generate income every month by being the grower and the florist. This is our model. Hopefully, it will encourage and motivate. Basically, basics about our farm. The property, we bought the property in late 2017 and sowed our first test seeds in March of 2018. Just to see how it would go. We knew we wanted to be flower farmers, but we didn't know how the land would do and really growing in Florida. We live on a 2.5 acre property where we do our farming, and we have a pretty large size horse barn that we use for storage and our equipment. The location of the farm is again in Lithia, Florida. It's about 40 minutes from Tampa inland. Some of the demographics, we are within 5 miles of 12,000 addresses with 3 major housing developments and more on the way. There are 5 major grocery stores, so that's our competitors within 6 miles of our house that have floral departments. Those are really just the pick up flowers and go. There are no other flower farms that we know of within the 30-mile radius, and at least none that are growing flowers on a commercial basis. Planning. Part of our model was to attempt to have mass blooms every month, targeting all the holidays. But of course, this is easier said than done. So we had to develop a planning schedule that wasn't on paper, that we can actually have a visual of what was going on. And we found this to be a great help. We developed a way to track what was planted, recording the germination times, the growth days, and until the first cuttings. Not the first blooms, but the first cuttings, because we want to have enough to use the row instead of just seeing the first bloom come out. And the length of time until the row was spent. Either we cut all the flowers, or they're producing at such a low rate it doesn't make sense to keep the row anymore. And we can display that data on a graphic chart, which I'll show you in a minute. It's really just a Gantt chart made in Excel. This enabled us to see the data and the graphics, and to actually see our target dates, because we could put dates to project when we'll see the blooms based on the history that we also save. And here is a screenshot of our data view and then the graph view. And you can see down in the bottom left, 1920 and 21. This was just taken in October, so we're projecting ahead till November. And because we have Thanksgiving coming up, and Thanksgiving and Christmas are 2 of our biggest months of the year. Our production model was to have continuous blooms by planting every 2 weeks. Well, that's up to me to get out there and actually plant every 2 weeks, which could mean as easily as planting 1 bed, 2 beds, and I've done up to 3 in a weekend. Become pretty efficient with that. So we've created a growing model that is efficient and easily reproducible. Each bed has identical hardware to it, drip lines, valves, and so on. And they're all the same length, and they're all lined up, same spacing, and so on. It relies heavily on reusing the bed several times a year. Sometimes for the shorter flowers, sunflowers especially, we are able to use the bed up to 4 times a year. This requires a quick turnaround, and during the summer it's a bit unbearable. We get out there, and during the winter it's a little bit nicer working outside, as you can imagine, in Florida. We grow what we know grows, and we don't grow what doesn't. We don't try to grow peonies down here. We don't try to grow a lot of the bulbs that need overwintering. It's just not feasible. So we grow what we can direct sow, and that come up quickly, and that are big and bold, because that's what our clients want. We keep the field neat and orderly for visitors and photographers. We never know who's stopping by, and it really gives the impression that you know what you're doing when you're neat and orderly, and you're not leaving a lot of tools and things half done in the field, obviously. Here is a picture of what our field looks like in October. This is the front part of our property. Way down in the distance, we have the Marine Corps flag and the U.S. flag, and we have some raised beds out there that we're growing some long-term vegetables. You can see some rows where we have our November growth that's coming up. We have sunflowers out there, and yes, that is corn on one side. We are doing some popping corn that we sell on the side with some bouquets. And we have a couple rows of zinnias there that are also going to be ready in November. We have just cut all our October crop, and so now we're looking at November 11th for our next cutting. Our product, like I said, we are the grower and the florist. So My wife does the florist portion. Our product are bouquet arrangements that are efficient and also easily reproducible, meaning that it's the same number of flowers, the same types of flowers in each one, and they're wrapped the same way, they're prepared the same way. And there's a couple advantages to that. We can limit the number of bouquet types, and we do customs on request for funerals and so on. It keeps the order selection simple for them on our website, where we do a good majority of our online orders. And we have a gallery that they can see other bouquets that have been made in the past, so they can easily select one of our 4 standard ones we have. And the other advantage is, if we know how many flowers and so on are in each bouquet, we can go out to the field and actually count how many will be blooming the next day or how many are blooming that day, and we can determine our inventory online. Or if someone has a request through a message or some other way. This was very important, especially when we would market and we wouldn't be able to tell how many we're selling or what to set our item count to in our inventory. And we only sell flowers that were cut the night before or the morning of. And it's important in the heat of the summer to do that for wilting, but it's also important because for the counts, we know what's out there, and we can project ahead at least a couple days. And for the vase life, we've heard from customers too, because we only cut during those specific times, and we don't cut old flowers either. Our customers have seen a vase life from 10 days to 2 weeks. Our marketing was a bit sketchy at the beginning, meaning we didn't want to market too much. When we marketed too much, we had so many requests coming in, we would sell out, which is still our problem now, but we sell a lot and then we sell out. But Mother Nature always decides what we can sell. We've noticed through our history of the beds that, you know, we have our different seasons here in Florida. We can grow all year round, but we have a ton of rain during the summertime, so that kind of affects our sunflower height, their growth times. Our winter time's a bit slower. So, you know, at the 50, 60 days to maturity, they're hitting 60 days and sometimes longer. So we have to rely on our history that we collect to know how the previous year affected it with rainfall, with cloud cover, with temperatures and so on. We do most of our marketing on Facebook, which it's our business Facebook page. So we understand that a lot of people don't have Facebook, depending on your age range. But Facebook is tied to several groups, neighborhood pages with these communities, and people get to know us through there. We have our webpage, which is listed here, where we collect emails for our email campaigns. We have our photos on there. We have other things happening on the farm, and we have our online store. Like I said, email campaigns, we do our sales through there, through post, and just as we do our posts on Facebook, and through word of mouth. We have our sign out there in the field, right on the road, and we do have business cards. Our sales model, we sell every bloom. That's our goal. We're out there basically cutting dollars is the way we like to look at it. There are very few flowers that go unused. We may have a large bed of zinnias that some start to get older, and we don't use those, but we have a bouquet that we're able to use shorter flowers, and that way we're not throwing away the first cuts. And we have a couple of bouquets that are long stem, so we're able to grow the other ones longer, and so on. So we try to use every single one. And I think that came from something I heard once, that someone said, don't plant anything until you have someone to buy it. But so we basically follow that, but we plant it and then make sure that we sell every bloom. And if we have extras, we do a blast somewhere on some social media, and people come forward. They always do. So we only sell locally as a retailer, not a wholesaler. Although tempting at first, we had a bunch of people that reached out to us and said they'd like to buy our flowers, and at the prices that they wanted, we decided, you know what, we can just sell them ourselves as a retailer at the lower price. And why give them away to them. We couldn't control the quality, and we couldn't control what they were doing with them. And for us, our quality of customers is what I think keeps them coming back. So we didn't want to lose that. Our sales are generated from social media posts and email campaigns. Like I said earlier, most of the orders are received via messages and email, and the farm's online store accounts for the rest. Tracking sales, we use Google Calendar because of its built-in features. I'll have a picture of that later. Prices, we kept our prices in line with the cut flower industry. Mostly the ASCFG, they have a survey to their members that ask, what do they charge for each flower? And there is a wholesale price there, mostly because that's what most people seem to sell is through wholesale. We aim to underprice the grocery stores with our superior product, and that's really our goal around here. We have those 6 grocery stores with their florist departments in there. There are really no florists around here. I think that industry dried up for a lot of people. So every time I see someone going to the grocery store getting a bouquet, it just means they haven't found us yet, and they will. Delivery and pickup. We do front door drop-offs. 10% of our orders this year were deliveries. The bulk of people pick up at the farm, and that's really our goal. We didn't want to leave. We like the idea of not using time at markets and other places to sell our flowers, and we like when people come. We feel we get a connection with them. My wife is a local teacher in the area, and word of mouth through her school and through other areas really drives people just to want to come into the farm and see us. So that really helps our sales. Here is the Google Calendar that we developed, or that we use for say. Everything is the subject header. You can export out all of the calendar days, and therefore get a list of all of your clients that you have in the subject. And this is one of our busiest months here in April. I think we did maybe 130 orders that month. You can see there's 4 more at the bottom. The calendar's not expanded all the way, but this lets you set reminders that we need to cut. They're easily draggable to the next day or previous day if you have changes. Here's some encouraging features if you are interested in doing the flower farm and florist for us, the grower and the florist portion. I know there's other flower farmers out there that are doing just great by selling stuff, either their roadside stands or they're doing wholesale or they do markets, and that works for them. Here, since we live so close to so many people, we've just been really successful with this model. Our busiest months are April through July and October through December. Now these are the busiest. All the months are basically pretty close. These are just the ones that we know we're going to get orders almost probably every day of the month, but a week. Our average orders per month are 53 orders. We have 450 unique customers that we know of in the last 2 years. That's 3 times as many orders as we've taken. So we know we have a lot of customers that are repeats. Our year-to-date profit margin, so our income over our expenses, is 68%. And we have no more expenses left for the year, and we already have all our seeds and everything's in the ground. Even some beds that we have that we do have to overwinter a few of our flowers. And we are projecting 74.85% for the end of the year. Now, last year it wasn't so much. We had a little bit more expenses. In the first year, we were at a loss because that was just our big year that we bought a lot of our hardware for the field. So our year-to-date sales for the website is 28%. So when we do a media blast, or we send out email campaigns, we encourage people to come to the website and order. It helps with our inventory, and it helps with them just securing their flowers. They've already paid, and we do pay at the farm. There is a coupon that they can say, pay at the farm. They come here and they'll pay cash, or they can swipe a credit card here too if they don't want to do it online. Some barriers that may face veterans who seek to enter the flower farming. Now, of course, there is the location. Before we bought this farm, we actually had another land locked in. We were ready to go, build a house out there and so on. Didn't work out. We found this property by chance, and we got lucky with our location because it was so close to residential neighborhoods. It's really a mile and a half from the first neighborhood that has over 5,000 people. So that is our home neighborhood where my wife teaches at a school. That is probably the biggest challenge. Being too far might make it where people don't drive out. But on the other hand, people want to get away nowadays, and I think that's a trend that people love to go out and get away from their neighborhoods and go to farms. And I don't think that's going away personally from what we've heard. Finding someone to buy your flowers is another big thing. I know, nothing wrong with CSA boxes, markets, wholesale. We ultimately decided against all of those because it took time away from us being here. And I think I would rather have people come here and we know our quality isn't going to change because we cut them that day and we're giving them to someone that day. And, so we don't have to work with the wholesale, the markets. That's hot here. We know a lot of, markets are, we've seen flowers there that by the end of the day, they're either ruined or they can't do nothing with them. We just do not like to waste a bloom or a bouquet. So it's just the way we operate. I'm sure that this works for other people, but for here, I think the model that worked for us was sell from home, take care of your quality, and have people come out. And we built slowly and found that people who want local flowers will wait for the bloom. So if Mother Nature has her deal and she doesn't want to produce them at their target date, it doesn't matter. These people wait, and these customers come back and they realize the difference. The climate may be a pretty big barrier for someone wanting to get in the flower industry. We are lucky enough we can grow year round. I have frost cloths just in case I go down to 27 degrees for certain months of the year. If we do hit something in January, I can easily cover pretty much everything that's out there quickly. To grow year round somewhere else, you may have to figure out what grows in a greenhouse for a few months of the year, or find other products that, either you're selling dried flowers during your winter months that you prepped for earlier, or, you have your bulbs growing in a grow house or something like that. It would be a challenge to grow year round somewhere else, but I'm sure if it could be thought of. We're not supposed to be growing all year round here. I think most people question how we're doing it, and we found it works. A little difference in each of the flowers, but it does work. Some are better and worse different times of year, but we do produce blooms. The methods we learned early in the process from other flower farms around the country, over time of using those, we found that they were inefficient and they just didn't work for our climate. A good example is the weed barrier, the plastic. Having that here, it kept the moisture in, but fungus gnats were out of control, and they love petals of sunflowers and they'll spot them up like crazy. That was one example. And really the weeds here find their way to everything. They'll get in those little holes and they'll choke out your seedlings no matter what, and weeding 400 or 800 holes down on the ground is not pleasant when you have 16 or 20 beds filled with flowers. So we decided to go the tools route, and we weed on a regular basis by another technique. Recently, we've ran into things being sold out because of COVID. For us, mason jars, which are 30% of our sales, and that's where we put our short flowers, those were tough to get a hold of, but we've got a good stockpile now. What I love about all this is working with my wife to make the success. Obviously, when the flowers nail their bloom times, this really is one of the best things. Getting things done, sense of accomplishment. Obviously, when customers come to learn, come to the farm and see what we've created, they really just want to go out there and take pictures. And really, if they come here to take pictures, our requirement is you buy a bouquet. and that's kind of their fee, but we sell, always sell, and that's always find ways to sell. It's more of it's a farm, but it's more of a business, and a business of selling and marketing. I didn't think it would be, but we found out it's being treated more like that. And the farming aspect is obviously always there, but without the marketing and the selling, it's really putting seeds in the ground and really just crossing your fingers, in my opinion. Watching the seedlings pop up through the soil is one of the best things. It's nervous. We direct sow everything. We're starting to get into putting a few seedlings in the ground, but really we direct sow just about everything, and we have a good technique for that. Listening to music while in the field and hearing the lyrics that make up the farm. Obviously, country song farm, and country music is filled with lyrics of farming, and that's really what we're about. And hearing phone alerts for orders, love that. And of course, all Marines love rows and columns. Dress right dress, ready front, cover. Sure, everybody can relate to that. And there's me in a column right there, far right. That's about all I have today. Thank you, and have a good rest of the conference. And there's me and my wife, and thank you, Farmer Veteran Coalition. There's our tractor and a healthy row of sunflowers.